I just got back from the dentist this morning and I found out my dentist's practice was transferred to his son when he retired. And his son is actually friends with my nephew. So we were visiting today, and he did share with me that his father was just diagnosed not too long ago with a brain tumor. And it kind of brought me back to the beginning for me, and obviously the fact that way too many of us are getting diagnosed with cancers, and that's why I'm doing this, honestly. Anyway, what I was thinking is one thing that I had told him, half jokingly, and which is what I did before with my caregivers, is I actually, I don't know if you guys have ever heard the term of a Cleopatra, but anyway, I became the queen of denial. And I want to make sure and emphasize that that doesn't mean that I did not get every single treatment and do everything that was recommended to me. But what I did was, as soon as I was finished with my infusions, which I usually got a couple of during the week of the chemotherapies, and then I had an oral, but each one of those were probably about 3 hours, I think. It was a part-time job. It was 20 hours a week and sometimes 30 because I had another infusion, which some of you might, I'm sure many of you will know, is called IVIG, is to boost your immune system. So in those weeks, it was about 30. Um, anyway, I would go in and usually have an appointment prior to that, or at least get a blood draw, and then I would go in and get my infusion. The whole time I was in the infusion, I focused on, because of my faith, I don't believe that any of this is an accident, I believe that there's a purpose for all of our lives, and I believe that we have a set of gifts, and I've always enjoyed encouraging people. When I see that I can offload all the worries and the troubles and make them a little bit lighter, even before cancer, that was a big deal to me. I think that we need to do a lot more of that in our lives. But I would actually start looking for the people that I could encourage. And whether they were in the waiting room or often they were sitting next to me, in the way that the infusion center that I like to go to was set up. There was two chairs that were together and then a pony wall, and or a small wall, for those of you who don't know what that is, a small wall and then two more chairs, and everybody was kind of in earshot of everyone else. And I would engage them in conversation and try to encourage them. And I found that that was one of the best things for uplifting myself as well. And in that scenario, it's like I tell people, you can't shake little gold dust on someone else and not get some on yourself. And this same thing's true with the positive attitude. So you share that positive attitude and you uplift people, then you feel uplifted. Um, the other thing that the Cleopatra part is, the minute that I got everything taken out, got my little bracelet off my wrist, and the IV out, my little Band-Aid on, the minute that I walked out that infusion center, I did not have cancer. In my own brain, I did not. Yeah, you know what? You don't feel great sometimes. I totally understand that. But we've been sick in other times in our lives. And so that's what I just wrote it off to in my mind. And I went about my daily life as though I wasn't a cancer patient, to the best of my ability. And it's a mindset, and it's a very freeing mindset. And you keep your eyes open for anyone that you can encourage in life in general. So by giving that out and having that kindness, it's all that more impactful to people whenever they discover that you're actually going through chemotherapy or you have cancer. It encourages people greatly. I had an instance, and I've had more than one, but when I was in Seattle the most recently, when I had CAR-T, I remember one early morning appointment that I had, and over there, when there are, I'm sure they're all over the country, at least I sure hope so, there are facilities that you can stay in long-term or short-term when you're getting transplants or treatments of that nature. Well, this one is in Seattle, and they have a shuttle service. It's very, very close to Fred Hutch Cancer, the clinic, and where I received, a lion's share of my treatments. But anyway, I was waiting on the shuttle. There was only one other woman that was there, and she, very quiet, which you find this a lot, obviously, because of what we're dealing with. But I started engaging her in conversation. And she shared with me that her husband, she was actually there in support of him, and she was going to go meet him at the hospital that he was septic. And in 2019, I kind of shared in my introduction, in October 2019, I just returned home in August. In 2019, I got hospitalized for sepsis. I was in full-blown septic shock with pneumonia. And I was in ICU for probably about 4 days, and then I was released to a regular room for a couple of days, and then I was able to get out of the hospital in a week. So, I'm very, very thankful. I didn't know what the statistics were having to do with sepsis at that point, which is probably beneficial, which is part of my denial, my Cleopatra mode. Anyway, I think that it's so helpful when you are not aware of all the mass of things that could go wrong, because it frees your mind to be optimistic, and then the cancer doesn't cannibalize your entire life. Because like the name Cancer Cherry, that is just one thing in your whole bowl. You can make it just one giant cherry and not have anything left there. That's completely up to you. Things, there are difficult times. This is a winding road. Every day brings something new. You do get to go through periods of time where it might become mundane, which is a blessing in and of itself. But anyway, I had this conversation with her, and I was able to tell her I was septic. And she lifted her head up and looked at me. And she goes, "And you're here?" I said, "Yeah, I'm here." And she said that it was, really bad, and that he was, kind of despondent. And anyway, I asked her his name, and she told me his name, and I told her that I would be praying for him. And she was so delighted and uplifted that she had the opportunity to meet somebody that had pulled through sepsis and was doing well. And I saw her probably about a week later, and I asked her how her husband was doing. And she told me that he was joking around and giving her a hard time, that he had started eating, and that he was doing really well. And I told her, I said, "Wow, that's a miracle." And she says, "No, the miracle was me running into you that day." And she goes, "And hearing that you had pulled through it." You are sending people out with a better attitude, and positivity can help uplift them. Even if in your particular treatment you're going through a hard time, if you can pull your eyes away from yourself and look at other people and lift them up, I guarantee you that it brings sunlight into your life that day. And then when you run into people and you see that not only has you sharing and encouraging and bringing that positivity in their life, but they were able to pass it on to somebody else, that's good stuff. So anyway, try to Cleopatra it. Do not do that to the extent of denying treatment. Get all the treatment that's necessary, and then as soon as you're doing everything you can, let it go. Let's pretend. Let's pretend like you don't have it. Let's pretend like we can just be encouraging other people. We can be a caregiver to our fellow cancer patients, and I don't know anything better than that. So thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to you again. Thanks so much.